school age kid, or even first year in high school, you go to high school, you go to school, you go in the front door, and you can sneak out of the back door and just disappear, and you're gone. I mean, you know, you're just hanging out wherever, and this was an everyday occurrence, you know.
You didn't get a call from the school system that your daughter wasn't at school?
By the time I got the phone call, it would be on my answering machine. It would go directly to the home. You know, I'd be at work during the day. So by the time I got home, of course, the school bus had dropped her off. She was at home. And it was like, yeah, I only missed first period because I was doing this. So it got to a point where, okay, you go to the school, you meet with the counselors, and you set up all of these interventions. Unfortunately, the kids always find a loophole to the interventions. And then it just got to the point where, okay, well, I just won't go to school at all, you know, and she just disappeared.
How is your nonprofit helping other parents not to suffer what you're suffering?
Through education. You know, each one of us has a different story. Each parent has a different experience. So through educating other parents as they come in, you know, we can basically say, okay, these are the signs. These are red flags. These are things, indicators, things that you need to look.
What are the red flags? What are the indicators?
Truancy. You know, a kid with low self-esteem. Now the internet, Craigslist, MySpace, other internet programs, you know, drugs, you know, a child's entire demeanor will change. And if you know your child, you know, and I tell parents, it's okay, you know, invade their privacy, you know. If your child is doing something that is out of the norm, then it's okay. Go to that child's room, talk to him first, and then start snooping. Start asking questions, you know. Be in contact with the schools. Talk to friends. Know who your child's friends are.
Do you go into the schools, Nikita and Daniel, do you go into the public school system and talk to the students, talk to the teachers, make them aware of this issue?
I do.
Yeah, we will be actually launching a program here this spring in one of the local high schools here. We're actually bringing the fashion industry into the school, doing a school assembly. Really a different approach to allow the kids to see against illegitimate recruiting for modeling, for music videos, and for these things. I've got friendships in a lot of the Hugo Boss and Click and Elite and a lot of these agencies that are ready to come in to educate the kids with professionals and say, you know what, this is reality. Not this guy that's telling you in the mall, you know what, you would be an incredible model. You would be, let me get your headshots, let me do this, in putting these kids in positions that really set them up potentially for trafficking and for these type of situations. And so it's really carving off the glamour on it that is a child wants to respond to that, and they lay victim to that, and allowing those that can influence the children to speak into these kids' lives.
What are some of these recruiting techniques?
Well, there's really responses are happening when, there's setups that say, you know, in these transportation systems, whether it's in MARTA or it's in the malls or different things that say, really, you're beautiful, and it's really coercing them and grooming them into their beauty, into this foreign guy that says, oh, well, this older guy likes me, he thinks he's cute, you know, he just bought me clothes, he just got me these nice things. And so begins this gradual appeal that really seduces a child into these environments that says, oh, I can trust him now. And next thing, before you know it, it really works into this child really becoming to work for this person. And so there's different responses. Of course, there's a runaway issue, you know, and the response that you've seen in the video here earlier that can become recruiting grounds as well. So there's different formats and ways.
How are you helping these children, once they've been in this situation, get out of it, get back on their feet, and have a normal life?
Well, our role is to raise awareness. Our role is to raise awareness among the community, among the media, among those that are influencers in society, and to channel them towards organizations that can help these kids. She's dealing directly with the parents and how to respond. There's also restorative homes throughout the city here. There's several that we can send the child to, that the child can begin the restorative process to become really healthy again, emotionally, physically, mentally, and to really integrate her back into society, and so that she can really live what she's called and dreamed of being. And so that no longer is she being exploited and raped for what she believes is her image.
Right, and you keep referring to she, but are boys also
Absolutely,
sexually
that's good.
exploited?
They're finding a really growing number of young boys involved in this as well. And yes, the women do get a lot of attention in this, but there is a significant number of young boys that are drawn into this.
And you're helping the boys as well as the girls,
Absolutely.
because they're
There's-
all sexually exploited,
There
and the
is.
sex trade is...
In all honesty, though, there needs to be better programs for young boys. There's not really many programs that exist right now for boys. And so it's a really gap in services, and I think there needs to be a response towards that.
How did you find Brandy? Did she come home, or did you find her?
Eventually, she came home, but you know, paid money for private investigators. We put pictures up. You know, I rode around looking for my daughter. You know, I was licensed to carry a weapon, and I carried it, and I looked for my kid. You know, family support. The family support was there, but it was very difficult, you know, to go to other people in the community to say, you know, this is what I'm facing, this is what I think my daughter is doing, what do I do, how can you help me? Eventually, Brandy came home. Not the same little chubby cheek girl that walked out of the front door going to the mailbox. The next time I saw Brandy probably weighed 98 pounds. Drugs, beatings. I mean, she was just, I don't know, she wasn't the same kid.
How is she today?
Today, Brandy involves herself in one detrimental relationship after the other. I mean, they're all abusive relationships. She just cannot pull herself out of that rut. You know, I've got to have somebody in my life, and everybody that's in my life, you know, they have to inflict physical and mental abuse. That's where she is and how she is today.
You started a nonprofit, and you've also turned to some nonprofits for help. Tell me about that.
My organization, the Gloria Peggy Williams Foundation, is named after my mom, who was an educator in the public school system for about 35 years. She was also a child advocate, bringing less fortunate children into our home. So, I mean, it was just second nature to embrace children in the community. Saving Our Daughters is a support group for parents, and we meet the first and third Tuesday of each month, and we talk. You know, we cry, we embrace each other, and we just try to figure out what it is that we can do to save our children, you know. And when I say saving our daughters, it's for any parent that has lost their child to the streets, male or female, you know. This is a parental support group. We educate, we counsel, we have volunteer counselors that counsel families, and then we reach out to other organizations in an effort to find placements for kids. You know, not every kid can go home. Not every kid comes from a family setting, you know. So we reach out to other organizations in hopes that we can find help for these kids and for their families.
And as you said, some of these children, they don't come from home environments like Brandy was raised in. They actually are abused in their own home environments.
That is correct.
So they can't be sent back to those homes. They have to have a safe place to go.
Exactly.
And you help with that as well.
Help with that as well.
I asked earlier when these businessmen come into Atlanta for their business trip and they are guided to these areas where they can buy sex from children, how do they know how to get there? How do they know where to go? How do the taxi driver know? Can you respond to that, Daniel?
I don't have all of the answers for that of how a person progresses into it. What's been said in a book by Gary Haugen for IJM is when it becomes an industry, which it is right now in Atlanta, it means that everybody's getting paid in the process. The taxi drivers, the hotel clerks, the pimps. There's a system and a network that's been put in place where everybody's justifying their role and saying, it's not my problem, I'm just delivering the package, or I'm just telling this person about this person. And so then it becomes an industry, and to think the raping of a child multiple times a day is an industry,
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying. What happens to these children when they're beat, they're raped, and they want to get out? Who do they turn to?
Well, that's very difficult. It's hard, and I think you've probably experienced that, for the children to know where to turn to.
It is hard.
You can't just expect the child to sit in front of a movie theater or a television show or different environments and that they'll get the message. Because these kids are on the streets. It's how do you get the message to the streets? And so organizations like Covenant House, like you've seen, that are working the streets and telling the kids that there are options. Working within shelters and within these things where these children are washing up and getting these messages of opportunities of hope and helping transition the child off of the street and into a safer environment. The answer is the people that stand up and say, you know what, not any longer in my neighborhood. Whether I'm a mom or I'm a doctor, I'm a professor, I'm a pastor, I'm a leader in whatever community that I'm a college student. Mm-hmm. You know what, I have a role to play in this. And it may be unique to affect this cause, but I've got to respond. That's the challenge to the pimps.
And ultimately, the Johns need to be prosecuted
Absolutely.
for this, because if the Johns aren't out there looking for it, then it's not going to be available.
Exactly.
So just wrapping up, I want to thank you both for being here. Nikita Hurt, Daniel Homrich, thank you for being here and telling your stories. If you would, please give our listeners, our audience, information on how to get in touch with you and your nonprofits.
Okay. GPW Foundation, I can be emailed at safeplace@bellsouth.net.
Daniel?
You can go to innocenceatlanta.org, and the email address is info@innocenceatlanta.org.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Nikita. And thank you for joining us. I'm Wanda Buckley. We'll see you next time.